what happens when mom is not at home?
I'm only thinking about it at the back of my head.
I was a complete stranger to him.
Where does she go to the bathroom? I got Jack in one arm because he's one.
I don't regret it.
There's absolutely no looking back.
I won't trade it for the entire world.
I'm the most expensive daycare you can get. I'm the best money can buy.
Hello and welcome to Crossover. I'm Yi Xu in Beijing with my always charming guest host, Tianran.
Always happy to be here. And for this show particularly, I'm so interested in what we're about to talk about.
Why are you so interested?
So we're going to talk about fathers and their influence on their children. And, I'm turning 30 soon. It's something that I need to consider in the not so distant future. When I was growing up, my dad was slightly more hands-off, but I feel that maybe when I become a father, I need to take a different approach.
That's very mature. You're very pensive.
Like I said, I'm almost 30.
Thinking about what type of father you're going to be. I think there are a lot of men out there who are in their 30s who aren't even thinking about this.
Right. Well, I'm only thinking about it at the back of my head.
Well, anyway, contrary to you, my dad was actually very involved in my upbringing. My mom worked 9 to 5, but my dad, he basically had his own architecture firm, so he would pick me up to and from school, and I would sleep under his drafting table. He was the one who fed me. But I think there's always been this perception, what happens when mom is not at home and dad is taking care of their child? What sort of
accidents,
exactly crazy things might happen that mom doesn't even know about, right? Yeah. In fact, there were a set of photos that went viral on the internet just recently, and this man, he just came up with these really fun photos.
Those are really well shot too.
He seems like he's a photographer. At least he came up with some great shots of him and his daughter.
10 reasons why you shouldn't leave your son or daughter with you.
Making the daughter do all the work, ironing the shirts, vacuuming while he's drinking his coffee.
This looks
Hilarious.
like a perfect job for the father.
Yeah. Outsource the housework, not to somebody else, but to your children.
And it's free too.
Well, that's what, as you said, that's what today's show is all about. Increasingly, more and more fathers are choosing to become more involved in the parenting of their children. And today we have two fathers who have done just that. They are Huang Ren and Mike Hollenbeck.
Hi.
Welcome to
Welcome to the
Crossover.
show.
Thank you for having us.
Does this happen at home when you guys are looking after your children? Mike?
Well, there's certainly a certain aspect of it that rings true, right? Getting the kids involved at a young age and trying to say, okay, they can finally clear their own dishes. I'm good to go. And then the next thing you hear is the plate clattering on the floor, or, gosh knows what.
Well, my kid is still young, 2.5 years old, so not yet happened, but maybe, in the future.
So tell me your stories. Let's start with you, Huang Ren.
Sure.
Because I know you had a very stressful corporate job, but you've chosen now to spend more time. You chose to leave that. It was also a very lucrative job.
Yeah.
Tell us that story.
Sure. I worked in Goldman Sachs for 5 years as an investment banker. I loved that job, and I think I did pretty well in that job too. But as I say, it's very demanding. And one time I went on a road show for 1 month. The entire 1 month I was overseas doing an IPO. And when I came back, at that time is 8 months. My son was 8 months.
Son was 8 months.
Yeah, and he didn't recognize me.
You were a stranger.
Yes,
right.
I was a complete stranger to him at that time, and that really broke my heart. And I think that's a wake-up call for me. After 1 year, when I got the promotion as an executive director at Goldman Sachs, I had to work harder to move up the ladder, because I have to manage a lot of clients. And at that time, I think my time was kind of, I lost the flexibility. I started to work, 18 hours per day, and at least 6 days per week. And I started to, kind of break my promise to my son when I say, okay, I will bring you to the zoo, but I couldn't. So at that time, I started to think to find another job, which will allow me more flexibility in the hours, and I can spend more time with my kid. So after kind of a couple of months thinking, I quit and started my own company specialized in early childhood education.
Mike, you kept nodding your head, throughout what Huang Ren was saying, in terms
some of the stuff is just so true as far as you want to be there for the events. When I was working, you'd go away for a business trip, and anything more than about 4 or 5 days, especially when they're young, they're like, oh, who is this guy? I don't recognize him. I'm not sure what to do with him. And you yourself are hesitant, right? Because you haven't been around him as much.
Right.
Yeah, just so true.
Well,
Absolutely.
you've chosen to be 100% stay-at-home
full-time
dad.
stay-at-home dad.
How did that happen? How did you make that decision with your wife?
My wife and I were both in the IT industry. She was getting ready to take a different job that we both knew was going to require a great deal of travel, like probably more than 50% travel. And we just looked at it and said, gosh, is this really the right experience for our kids? Do we want to have a little bit more involvement? So I had the opportunity to leave my position and said, hey, let's try it for a year or two. Let's have me stay at home and see how it works out. And I tell you what, there's absolutely no looking back. It's just been so great for the kids. It's been so much fun for me.
It does sound a bit strange though when you flip it around.
Yeah.
Because we're totally used to
Could you
women
do that?
staying at home. I think I could, but I feel like there would be an expectation from society for me to do more, like Juan, to do something else as well. Do you feel like that, Mike, that there is this expectation that you can't just look after your kids, you also need to be doing something, your own project?
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely feel that, especially with both sets of parents, where there's a little bit of a, we're not quite sure about this. Doesn't it feel like you should be out doing something as well?
You said before that you were going to try this for 1 to 2 years. How many years have you been doing this now?
We're in our 5th year now, and it's been great. And I think the kids love it. It's been great for me to form that bond with the kids and be so active in their upbringing and stuff.
Tell me about that first year, going into that transition,
Oh yeah, the first year is tough, right? Because I have an older daughter, and I was one of 4 boys, and just stuff that you don't even assume, right? So you're out in the shopping mall. Where does she go to the bathroom? Oh, wait a minute. She's 3. I can't let her go in the bath. I got Jack in one arm because he's 1. Well, I got to take her in the men's room, so it's always okay. Is anybody in? Got to wait till everybody comes out, and then we try and go with the kids to go to the bathroom, and little things like that you just have to kind of plan for and think about. That they're not any easier or harder for a woman, but it was so far out of my cross-check that it really took time to adapt to that.
Yeah, you never have to think about those sorts of things, right? I think,
I mean, usually as a guy, you kind of just walk in, you use a urinal, and then you're done.
Right.
Yeah. But you almost never see Chinese fathers here in China taking kids into the toilet. And when you do, you're kind of like, that's not seen before.
Yeah.
And not to mention, if your child was even smaller, where do you change the baby? The baby changing stations are always in the women's room.
Such a blessing. They're starting to put them, you're right, and they're starting to put them in some of the men's rooms now. And even though my kid's been out of diapers for 5-6 years, every time I see one, I just get a little smile on my face saying, yeah, right on. That's great. I wish they'd have had it when I was changing.
Now they have a separate room for the diaper change.
Yeah.
Oh, even in the men's room?
Not men's room, it's outside.
Oh,
both men
the
and women's
family room.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
they have the family
those
room
are nice
now.
as well.
Right.
You're right.
It's nice to have.
Yeah.
I know how to change the diaper with them standing up, though. So that you had to learn how to do it that way.
Mike sounds like he's gotten really skilled.
I'm just imagining you dangling yourself.
Hang on, buddy, hang on.
So what has been the most difficult part of this transition?
For me,
Yes.
a lot actually, I think, financially. Now, I earn like 1/10 of what I used to earn. Also now, because I used to work for big corporate, everything is kind of was taken care for me.
Right.
Say, but now I have to take care of a lot of things because I'm the founder of the company. You know, I take care from the finance to the law to to refill the toilet paper, something like this. So I need to take care of everything, and this is kind of very exhausting, mentally very exhausting. But I don't regret it. I really enjoy this this change. I enjoy this transition, especially when I have time to read to my son every day.
So tell me, that's what you do. That's your activity with your son.
Yes, mostly. I really love reading to him, and he really loves listening to me. And it's very adorable. It's to watch your son do the kind of a role playing the characters in a picture book.
What's his favorite book? Does he have one?
Well, he loves a lot of books. Actually, I have been doing this kind of reading thing to him. Now he has already read about 400 picture books.
That's a lot.
So yeah, he really loves reading books, and he loves role playing. So when I say, okay, a cat runs by, something like that, he will crawl on the bed very fast, and then he look back and smile at me. And that's
And do you crawl with him?
Sometimes, actually, sometimes.
Because they say this sort of play is really important.
Yes, and that's the moment I think. Well, I won't trade it for the entire world. It's the moment I cherish most.
Do you see more and more of your friends, your male friends, maybe at school or friends around in the community, who are wanting to be more involved in the parenting of their children? Because it seems like this is a phenomenon. There was research that was done. I think it's like 16% more males are choosing to stay at home. Yeah. There are a lot more.
40% of women are now the primary breadwinners in the States.
And it just, we have movies. There was a movie just recently called The Intern with Robert De Niro. And I think Anne Hathaway's character, she's this very successful startup entrepreneur, and her husband chooses to stay at home. So we're seeing this more in mainstream society. Do you find it happening more here in Beijing as well, in China?
I think so. Actually, I attended kind of seminar called Positive Discipline. Usually, it's all mothers, but when I attended that seminar, it's about like 70% mothers, 30% dads.
I've sat through those same classes where, it's like 25 moms and you. And what's funny is the moms always want to kind of get your perspective and get your take on things. We've done the positive discipline one as well. And it's just interesting to hear some of the things that they have to deal with and some of the challenges they face.
The mothers were actually very positive about the fact that you were there with them.
They're very encouraging. Hey, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I want to try and get some more information on doing this. It's very, very positive about it.
But yes, research has shown that having fathers' involvement in children's daily lives actually helps develop them
from a physical side, from
an emotional side.
Right. I've heard it's especially important for girls as well, which I'm excited about that, right? Because that's one thing I can bring to the equation that's a little bit different. But, to your point about the finance side, we're very lucky in that we have the luxury financially to where it's not a huge burden. And, what I like to say is I'm the most expensive daycare you can get, but I'm the best money can buy. So, to me, it's worthwhile. So.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to hear more about a father's involvement in their child's upbringing. Please stay tuned.
What sort of things have you had to hide from your wife?
Don't talk about that.
I remember the story about doing your child's hair.
What do we have to do? Oh, it has to be in a bun, Daddy. I'm a bun. What the heck is a bun?
Would you tell your wife if...
No, would not tell her that.
No.
Disagreements?
I would say I usually win.
I win none of the arguments, so yes. What?
Welcome back to Crossover. So we've been talking about the phenomenon of stay-at-home dads, which is becoming less of a phenomenon. It's becoming more mainstream these days. But just, I guess, as personal research, what is a typical day like for a stay-at-home dad? Huaren, you are not only looking after your kids, but you also have your own company. What's
Yes.
a typical schedule for you?
I move my schedule from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
So then from 7 p.m., you spend all the time with your child.
Yes.
When does he go to sleep?
Around 9.
Okay.
Yeah, 9 or 9:30.
So you
Yeah.
read to him,
Yes.
you bathe him.
Yeah.
What is your day-to-day like?
So for me, we usually get up around 7, get the kids organized as far as their shower. I make breakfast for them.
Have you found that you've had to learn a lot more recipes since
I'm
staying
trying.
at home and looking after kids?
I'm really trying, but I'm still a little bit hopeless in the kitchen, if you will. But get them up to school. Yeah, discipline is. It's funny. It's you talk a bit about some of the details. I'm a lot softer on the details. I'm very much about kind of the big picture stuff. Hey, Jack, you didn't treat that kid very nicely on the soccer field. How do you feel about that? You need to go over and apologize to him. And about the big behaviors around adults, you need to look that parent in the eye or learn how to shake hands when you meet someone new and things like that.
Is it particularly more with Emma, your girl, or with your boy? Because I know that mothers can be sometimes
so
a little
hard.
harder on their girls than they
Yeah.
will be on their boys. It's true.
Yeah, it's so hard. As I used to say, Emma was a very cautious child, and my nickname for her was always Emma, be careful, or that was kind of her middle name. Whereas with Jack, it was like Jack, stop. So Jack has always been very aggressive and very freewheeling, and Emma is just a complete mystery to me. I'm like, I hope this works. I hope she's okay with this.
I remember the story about doing your child's hair, Emma's
Oh
hair.
yeah. Oh, that was.
Tell us about that.
Well, my daughter is really into dance, and it's a very formalized. They have great ballet programs and jazz, tap, etc. Well, to go to ballet as a little 6-year-old, you have to have your hair done properly. And needless to say, I don't have a lot of experience doing my hair, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, what do we have to do? Oh, it has to be in a bun, Daddy. I'm a bun. What the heck is a bun? I kind of had some concept on that, but no clue as to how to do it. And I messed around with it, and I got like 14 things, the combs, and I'm doing this, she's holding stuff, whatever. And finally I just said, oh, enough. Let's go to the internet. And sure enough, you Google it in, and there's a YouTube thing right there, how to make a bun. And it shows this lady, shows how to make it. And I made the bun for her. And it was, off here and kind of scraggly and stuff. And I think for like the first 3 months, the instructor would redo it for her when she was in class, because when she'd come back, I'm like, man, that bun looks pretty good. I don't remember it being that good. But as I like to say, by the end of the course, my bun was comfortably in the middle. It certainly wasn't the best, but I saw other buns that were nowhere near as good as mine. So I can do a bun in my daughter's
Trial and error
hair.
with a lot of YouTube.
Exactly. That is
Exactly.
a huge achievement.
Exactly.
Well, we sent one of our directors out to Mike and Rupal's house to meet your kids and to just kind of get a sense of what a day is like in the Hollenbeck house.
Right.
Let's take a look at that clip.
He's the best dad in the world. He's a good, good, good dad.
Don't throw it over the fence. Go.
Daddy's really good at helping me with my homework and stuff like that. It makes it fun for me to do it.
We talked about that on the drive over. Emma can tell in Chinese. Is it Chinese food?
Wait, what? I didn't really know that. Let me have milkshakes on the weekend.
Hopefully.
Mommy does her job really well, and Daddy takes care of us really, really well. He's the only one with the key to open the door. We won't be able to get in here. We
Maybe.
wouldn't actually be able to be here. They'd both be at work. We wouldn't be able to get in the house. We'd have to climb over the fence. The doors would all be locked. And we'd have to unlock them, so then we'd have to go to Daddy. So, no. The rest of our lives.
Forever.
That's fantastic.
Nice.
So
Being a
sweet.
stay-at-home dad is not just one job, is it? It's a full-time. You have to be a full-time technician, a cook, an engineer, a teacher, a guardian.
But that's the same for any parent, right? So it's no different, mom versus dad.
Sure.
And again, I'm not trying to generalize, but I feel like dads have this way of making things really
Funness.
fun.
Fun,
Yeah.
yeah, we
I
try.
don't know what it is, it's same thing when my husband, taping shows, I'm gone all day.
Yeah.
If my husband on the weekend, he takes the kids, it's like they have so much fun.
Yeah.
And maybe because it's new, but Daddy can take care of them. It's like he doesn't worry. So,
Yeah.
if they don't eat all day, it's okay. He just feeds them when they're hungry. It's not like, okay, I need to plan this meal and be very serious. They're just having fun all day.
A bit more fluid.
Yeah.
But I can see where that's going to have to change for me. And one of the big things, and Rupal and I are always, like, she'll come home from work and Emma will be there and she'll be like, did Emma go to school in that outfit? And I'm like, I know the right answer is no, but I have to say yes. And as she gets older, I think it's going to be more critical for those kinds of inputs and those kinds of changes. And the stuff that I just don't see, I don't recognize, unfortunately.
What sort of things have you had to hide from your wife?
Oh, don't talk about
Well,
that.
she's coming on soon,
Yeah.
but not right now.
Yeah, not too much. I try not to be the don't tell your mother type dad, but there certainly are those things where, like they like to have milkshakes at the coffee shop for their snack, and like about 1 out of 5 times when they ask, I'll say no fruit smoothies. You can have a milkshake today, type thing.
I think this is the perfect time for a little game for for today.
Yeah.
We have a game which is called When Would You Tell Your Wife? Or would you tell your wife if X scenario happened? Would you tell your wife if, while you were brushing your daughter's hair that morning, you were so frustrated with a big knot that you just decided to cut it out?
No, I would not tell her that. Are you kidding me? So I have to retract what I said earlier. Really, it's not going to impact Emma's long-term, development. So we could just keep that one on the down low. And I would tell Emma, don't tell mommy.
Your wife's going to go home and check your
She's
daughter's
gonna
hair and
check,
make sure there aren't any
yes.
big
Oh,
pieces
gosh.
missing.
Oh, you just said it was time for her to have a bob instead of long hair.
Why is Emma wearing her ponytail on the side of her head?
Okay, the second question. Would you tell your wife if, for example, you were taking care of your child all day and you just were so tired that you let your child play on the iPad all day and just eat takeout food? Would you tell your wife that?
No. Of course, it's not
Fighting
every day.
going
Right?
on.
Yeah. Oh.
I got a question. If you've been taking care of your kid every single day, your wife's been out on business for the last 2-3 weeks, and then they come home and they ask you, oh, have the children missed me? Would you say yes, they have, or no, because you want to feel spiteful because you've been working for the last 2-3 weeks?
No, the kids always miss her. So I wouldn't do it in a spiteful way, because it would be so hard for your spouse to get that kind of news. And the kids do miss her, right? I miss her. Everybody
Right.
misses her. It's a tough one.
But
Yeah.
do you sometimes would you sometimes tell your wife that your kids miss her more than they actually are missing her? Because I noticed, okay, I hope my husband's not watching this.
So it's miss is the wrong word. They obviously miss her.
Right.
But the constant interaction that they might have when she's home and, comes home from dinner from 6 to 9, it's like life goes on, right? I mean, we're doing stuff. It's not like every 5 minutes that, hey, where's mommy? I miss
Right.
mommy, right?
My
So
husband,
that's a
whenever
little
he
different.
goes on a business trip, he'll call and say, oh, do the kids miss me?
Yeah.
And I always say yes,
Yes.
they
Of
miss
course.
you a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
But, you're right. I mean, they're so busy, they don't
Right.
really have time to really say, oh, I really miss
Right.
daddy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But
gotta
you have
schedule
to
in an
tell
appointment.
Right.
you have to tell him that they miss daddy, right?
Yeah.
This is for you to ask.
That's the right
Um,
answer.
Right, so I guess, do either of you play golf?
Oh, I do.
You do?
All the time.
Okay, so I guess this would be more for you, Mike.
Yep.
Have you ever forgotten to put away your golfing equipment and then one of your kids ran over it, fell over, got a bruise, scraped their knee? Did you tell your wife?
You know, it's funny, I think, with a non-working spouse, because when your spouse is gone, because regardless of your fault or not, they assume it's your fault, right? So I would probably not, lead with that. I would say, hey, Jack skinned his knee, sorry about that. And then if Jack wasn't covering for me, which he often doesn't do, he would say, yeah, I tripped over Daddy's golf clubs. But I certainly wouldn't go out and say, hey, I left my golf clubs out and Jack tripped over them.
You got to play it by ear.
So it's one of those where, if she asked me, I would admit to it. But if she doesn't ask me, I'm not going to volunteer.
Right.
Yeah. It could have been the dog.
So the follow-up
right.
to that question, how bad does the injury have to be for you to tell her while she's on a business trip?
Yeah, like I can't remember if she's on a trip or not, but my son just dove in the pool and broke both his teeth and took little chips out of them. So yeah, right away I was, hey, sweetie, bad news, And of course with the social media now, you can send a picture immediately
Right.
so you can see the
Right.
results. So yeah, stuff like that. Skinny knees, I mean, they're going to do that
Cutting
all the
fingers,
time.
whatever, it's okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all okay.
Yeah.
Small injuries.
And no
Yeah.
need to worry them.
You don't
right?
want to
While they're
distract
busy.
them,
Yeah.
sure.
Exactly.
Sure, because I mean everybody assumes the worst. What do you mean he broke his teeth? And you just picture,
Yeah.
a kid with two big gaps in the, where their teeth used to be, and thousands of dollars at the dentist.
So even when you tear them, they can't do anything about it. So why not just
Yeah.
tear them when they come back?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's more practical. Right? Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
What?
Just not told Mike about one of your kids' accidents?
Yeah, well,
you
I'm
have.
trying to, of course, yeah, of course. I mean, sometimes, if it's not a big deal, sometimes I forget about it myself.
Right.
So,
I mean,
Yeah, I'm
especially
sure-
when they smile and you see those two.
You've been with my son.
Totally.
but yeah, I mean, obviously, if it was very serious, they
Right.
need to know right away, and I would tell them right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you've been doing this for 5 years, Mike, have you ever thought about, okay, maybe you want to go back to work, or?
I like work. I have no problem going back to work. In fact, I was telling someone just the other day, because we were talking about, what are you going to do 5-10 years from now? I'll go back to work at some point, and it'll just be at a lesser role, and just do something that'll be give me an opportunity to be more of a, a job where I can be more of a mentor, or similar to the intern, as you talked about, right? I could be the Robert
An
De Niro.
advisor, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. What about you, Huang? Would you ever think about even, once your company is more established,
Yeah.
Just be more of the founder, chairman type of role, and not have to do the day-to-day with the company, and just spending more time with your child?
Well, definitely. Yeah. So the reason I started this company is to spend more time with my kid. If it's, I don't need to take care of the daily routines, spend so much time with the daily routines, of course I want to spend more time with my kid.
So because you have access to so many experts,
Yeah.
when you and your wife have a disagreement
Yes.
about your child,
Yeah.
who usually wins?
Well, I would say I usually win.
That is so rare.
Yeah, exactly.
Good on you.
No, because when she disagree with me, I would say some experts say something like this, and she can argue with me on that because she may not have so much time to read so many early childhood education books. So I can quote from the books and
According to
refute
Pew
her.
Research.
Yes, exactly. How about you, Mike? Disagreements?
Yeah, no, all
Is
the
it-
time. And again, I think some of it is it's just a challenge when you travel a lot, right? Because you're not there on the day to day, and you're going to come in and see something where you're like, gosh, what happened? How did we get to here?
And I'm sure sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes things, because you see it day to day,
Exactly.
you forget what
Right.
it actually, the impact of it. Like
Right.
maybe it might slide a little bit day to day,
Right.
and it takes somebody
Sure.
who hasn't seen it
Sure.
in 2 weeks to say,
Yeah.
oh,
what are
you're
you
heading
doing?
in the wrong direction. Right.
And I win none of the arguments. So yes, what course corrections are made the minute Rupal says, let's do a course correction.
All right, this
So-
is perfect because after this break, we are going to bring the women on the stage, including Mike's wife, and we're going to hear the other side of the story. Please stay with us.
Don't touch that, it's spicy.
Yes.
You can't have coffee. Wait till you go to college.
I say, give him a try.
Because at some point, they're going to want less of you.
Can you please knock the door? Will you come to my room? Hi, Emma. How was your day? Good. Did you have a good day at school? Yes. What did you eat for dinner? Pasta. Is there anything else that you want to say to me? No.
I'm a bit worried now, really.
Hello and welcome back to Crossover, and we are now joined by Mike's wife, Rupal, and Vivian Zhang. Thank you, both of you, for being here.
Thank you.
You know, I'm just going to launch straight in. Rupal, I really want to ask you, everything Mike said and everything he said about, winning arguments and such, is it all true?
I saw a little bit of it, and I must tell you, it's all true. It's all completely true. And quite frankly, I was a little surprised back there. I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he shared that. But yes, it is true.
So what type of dad do you think he is? How would you describe Mike as a dad?
Oh, he's first, he's a great dad. He really, really is. And a really different kind of parent, I think, than I would be. And I think that balance of the two of us is really great for the kids.
Vivian, you've heard all of this discussion
Yes.
off stage. These two dads who want to spend more time with their children. What do you think about that?
First of all, I think Rufo is so lucky. Yeah, in China, for the father's role, they just make money. Yeah, but they don't have the time to spend with children. So, but be a mom, I wish all the dad can like Mike and Huang Ren to spend much time with their children. Yeah, it's great.
I read an article where they said that, if a mother is working, she comes home and takes care of the kids, and she has a husband staying at home looking after the kids as well, you're going to make a much better, more rounded child because they don't need as much, I guess, influence from the mum. Do you feel that?
Is influence from a mom a bad thing?
For some reason, if the mother is working and she comes back, that's enough. It's kind of already enough for the kid, like enough motherly input.
Enough mom.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But there needs to be more dad in the child's upbringing. Ripple, do you feel like in the 5 years that Mike's been looking after the kids that there has been some kind of change in their personalities?
Well, our kids are 10 and 8. So most of their lives, they've known their dad as a stay-at-home dad. And it really doesn't matter who's working outside the home, who's doing the runs to ballet, or who's doing the soccer match. What really matters is that when we're at home, we're all spending quality time together, and we're really focused on that. So I completely agree that kids need more dad in their life. They need mom and dad in their life.
Now, Vivian, I know you have a perspective on that because your father had a big influence on you.
Yeah, being a mom, I think we have the latest nature, such as loving, caring.
We're very nurturing, so
Yeah,
we want to do
yeah.
things for our children, right?
Yeah, but for their kids, they all we would like the kids can have their another personalities, such as very strong, and very brave, and very decisive. But so many characters only can learn more from the fathers and only can be influenced by the fathers. So, yeah.
Do you feel like that's different in China? Because I feel like in Asia, men particularly are always the breadwinners. It's almost kind of strange for a guy to be a stay-at-home dad in China, in Asia. Do you feel like there's a pressure for men to conform to that?
Yes, they do. I think it's very traditional in China. They do think if their dad is successful and they must make big money and earn money and to get their money for their family. But for their moms, we should spend much time on looking after all their whole family.
It disrupts the traditional family model and those stereotypes. Do you ever worry about that? I mean, you know, when you ask the kids, okay, dad is a stay-at-home dad, you know, do you worry about, they say, oh, you know, how they feel about that, especially maybe for your son?
Yeah, it definitely is creating a different perspective for him on what the model is and what he should do as he grows up. And that's something that I think we have to balance carefully for both the kids.
Huang Ren, now, you know, you're seeing all of this happen around you. What's the role, you know, I know that you still are working and your wife is working as well.
Yes.
When it comes to parenting, what do you feel like you bring to your son versus what your wife brings? You know, Vivian was talking about how women, you know, it's all about love and nurturing and caring. Do you distinguish the two roles differently?
Yes. Actually, I think I have an example. Say, for instance, when I drink coffee, my kid wants to have a taste, but he's just 2 years old. So my wife will say, no, coffee is not for kids. But for me, I would just give him black coffee without sugar and cream. So he tastes a little bit and he hates it. So he will never try it again, at least for a long time. So I don't need to lecture him saying, no, coffee is not for kids. So I think that's very typical approach from dad and moms. Mom usually say, don't do this, don't do that. And dad will say, give a try. And when you get hurt or when you get, you know, you don't like it, you know you don't want to do that again next time.
Right. You learn from your mistakes.
Yes.
I think you're totally right. And it goes to your point. I mean, that research that you read, maybe that's why, you know, because women and moms, we try to protect. We don't want our children to be hurt.
That's right.
But dads are like, you know, let them go, let them fall and skin their knees, let them try spicy foods, and it's okay if they cry a little bit because they're going to learn, they're going to experience. And you're in this day and age, it's more and more important to let our children experience and make their own mistakes and learn from them.
And that's so hard, though, as a parent, right? That's incredibly hard. And I think you're absolutely right. Moms and dads have such a different way. I'm the exact opposite of your example. Don't touch that, it's spicy. You can't have coffee, wait till you go to college. And so I'm always trying to prevent. And my way to protect is to prevent. And sometimes dad's way to protect is to show them and to let them experience it so they can learn their lesson that way. And so we just have different, we both want the same thing, moms and dads. We just have different ways of going about it sometimes.
Vivian, you've had a really interesting experience as a mother because I know you were a stay-at-home mom. You also were a corporate working mother, and now you're doing something completely different. Tell me about those different stages.
Okay, and I have been only a mom for 3 years before my daughter is 3 years, and then
So you were a stay-at-home mom from 0 to 3.
0 to 3, and then I back to work. And I'm working for a U.S. company with a very tight schedule. So, but I think it's okay. One day, I still remember that afternoon when I was back home. I came to my daughter's room directly, and I hugged her and said, "Oh, baby girl, how is your day?" But you know what? My daughter said, very seriously, said, "Oh, Mom, I'm grown up. Can you please knock the door? Will you come to my room?"
How old was she?
She's only, I think, 6 years old. So grade 1. I said, I was shocked. I said, okay. I came out and knocked again and came in. So, but that night I was sleepless. I think, oh my God, the girl growing up so fast. I must cherish every moment I can spend with her. So I quit in 1 month.
And 1 month you quit?
Yeah, I quit. I'm just back home to spend time with her. But you know, in the first 3 months, it's okay. You know, when she went to school, I just stay home watching TV and making up. So but 3 months later, there is another problem. I don't know how to spend my spare time when she went to school.
Right.
I'm worrying maybe I will lose the connection with society. So at this time, my husband invested another company for me, but not big, a small business, so that I can have my spare time freely to stay with my daughter. So I can, shopping with her and reading with her. So we built a very close relationship. So I think for this, so it has been 4 years. I think he's very happy for me.
So this is the perfect scenario for you. You have a little bit of work,
Yeah.
but you can have the flexibility to spend the time that you want with your
Mike, is there anything that you would like to swap with Rupal in your work-life balance?
Swap with Rupal on work-life balance?
Like take some of.
Well, I'd
corporate
always like for her to
responsibility.
be able to take a little more time for herself, right? Because she works so hard, and it's just, I mean, she's got such a stressful job, lots of travel and everything else. So, and it's hard because you're conflicted, right? You come home, you want to spend all your time with the family, but you need time for yourself as well, right? That's what keeps you sane, if you will. So.
Do you ever feel conflicted yourself, Rupal, because you're traveling so much and you're working so hard?
I do. And it's hard. I think my kids are at that age now, 10 and 8, where when I call them, they don't really want to talk to me anymore, And I feel like, do I miss them more than they miss me?
When does that happen? At what age?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Maybe a couple years ago, but I try to call every day, and when I call before they go to sleep, I'll say, "Hi, Emma, how was your day?" "Good." "Did you have a good day at school?" "Yes."
Yeah.
"What did you eat for dinner?" "Pasta." "Is there anything else that you want to say to me?" "No."
That sounds like a
Do you miss
conversation
me?
in my household.
Yes.
It sounds like me right now with my parents.
My daughter. So that makes it hard, but those are the. But for me, knowing that Mike is there and such a constant for them in their lives every day, is what makes it possible for me to have my career.
What would happen when Mike was saying earlier that eventually maybe he'd like to get back into work more as an advisor? If you're back at work again, Mike Rupal, do you think you would have to make a few concessions with your work?
Sure. When the time came for Mike to want something outside of the home for himself during the day that would require a certain amount of time away from home or would require me to travel less, those are trade-offs that we can make. So I think we would be prepared to make those trade-offs. And yeah, I would absolutely do that. And I'm very sensitive to what both of these two brought up around what happens when your kids get older and they go to school, and then after school they have their activities, and there are blocks of time that you didn't used to have before that all of a sudden you have, and how do you fill those up?
But even when they go to full-time school, that period of time between 8:30 and 3:30 is very short.
Yeah.
So then, okay,
That's right.
like you said, when it extends to after-school activities and they don't really need you during that time, how do you make that transition? I think it's something that moms are thinking about. Perhaps dads are thinking
Absolutely.
about at some point.
And it's tricky, right? Because at some point, they're going to want less of you.
Exactly.
Right? So-
But at least at this period of time when they wanted you, you
Right.
were there.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the toughest years are
Yeah,
still
exactly.
ahead, right?
That's right.
Well, Huang Ren, your child is still very young,
Yes.
2.5. So, yeah, that period of time when you could spend with him from now until what we're saying 10 years old, I mean, these are years
Lots
for
of
you
fun
to
to
really
come.
treasure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for you, Tianren, I mean,
I
you said at
know.
the opening of the show that you were super excited to learn
I
from
don't know. I'm a bit.
these guests. What do you think?
I'm a bit worried now, really. It doesn't seem like it's just being a stay-at-home dad. You just got to be a good parent, and it seems
That's
like
right.
there's
Yeah,
so much
sure.
work involved. It doesn't matter whether you're a guy or a woman. Just being there for your kids, just from 0 to teenager. I don't know how much of that I can be involved in, but we'll see.
You're going to be a great dad when that time comes.
I'll try not to be the strictest dad, I know, but we'll see.
All right. Well, I want to thank the four of you so much for coming on Crossover and sharing with us today. It's been
Thank
great.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
And thanks to our viewers at home for tuning in today. We'll see you next weekend on Crossover. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.